Okay. I think just to keep to schedule, we'll make a start. So first thing, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. This webinar is being brought to you by Crescent Purchasing Consortium and our supply partners for energy, Dukefield Energy. My name is Mel Johnson. I'm the Customer Engagement Manager for Crescent Purchasing Consortium. Really hot topic for everybody at the moment. So we're really pleased to be able to bring you this webinar update alongside my colleague, Nick Gauntlet, who's in Dukefield Energy. So I'll just move through just to give you an overview of today's webinar. So in terms of the process and the content, I'm going to start with just a brief introduction. We're going to quickly move to the energy market update, which most people are obviously here for today. We're going to have a look at some recommendations, a brief overview of the utilities, supplies and services framework, and the energy management support available with Dukefield Energy via our framework agreement, and then a Q&A session. Now, in terms of this webinar, in terms of the questions, if I can ask you to please place any questions that you have in the chat, place them anytime throughout the presentation and throughout the webinar. I will monitor those, and at the end of the presentation, we'll jump on the Q&A and we'll try and get through as many as we can today within the hour slot that we have. If there are any that we don't get to, your details will be in the chat. We'll come back to you directly with feedback. So please, be quite active in the questions session. We're really looking forward to hearing those and seeing how we can offer some advice and support. Okay, so just by way of a short introduction, so Crescent Purchasing Consortium and Dukefield Energy, we're working in partnership following a Public Contracts Regulations 2015 tendering process, whereby Dukefield Energy became the sole appointed consultant on the CPC's utility supplies and services framework at inception. Really pleased and proud that the framework is also endorsed by the Department for Education, so something both ourselves and Dukefield are very passionate about. And then just a little bit of an overview about Dukefield Energy. So it's a full service consultancy, so Dukefield don't just offer the typical services you would experience with a broker. They are 20 years of education experience, are very established in the education sector. A good understanding of the energy issues that can be faced by educational establishments in particular. Consider Dukefield a safe pair of hands for your procurement and energy management solutions. Very relatable, able to give you advice. Obviously, you can go through our framework agreement. We'll share contact details at the end of this slide pack, so you can reach out directly to Dukefield with any questions or support that you may need. In terms of savings, really pleased to announce that the savings of over £3.5 million collectively have been actually achieved on gas and electricity contracts over the last 3 years for members of the CPC. And be quite interesting in terms of how that's going to look in the current marketplace. But swiftly, I shall pass that over to Nick now, and he'll talk you through an energy market update. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here to give you a bit of an update on the energy markets and everything. And as I'm sure everyone's aware, the news about Russia and Ukraine and everything's had a huge effect on the markets today. But I will just talk you through a bit of the background, see where we are now, and then how we can help with Dukefield Energy, can help you and your organisations procure in the right way, and manage the risk of these high prices and the volatile markets we're seeing at the moment. So in 2021, we did have a bit of a perfect storm. Q3 and Q4 were quite volatile. So pretty much from the summer onwards, we had a number of issues that drove prices up. We had some issues around COVID and some of the restrictions. We had a fire at an interconnector coming through the Channel Tunnel, which stopped electricity supplies that we get from France coming through. So there was around 30% of our electricity suddenly got shut off once that fire had happened. Now, they have put that back pretty much now. It was due to go back online in Easter, so that has come back online now, which is good. But we have had a number of other issues coming into the market that have produced large spikes since last summer. So prices are a lot higher from this time last year. Now, there's been a lot of things happening over the last couple of weeks. Had obviously the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. It's been volatile recently, and no one knew quite what was going to happen. Obviously, we get a lot, or Europe gets a lot of gas coming through Russia. Now, in terms of some of the sanctions and bits and pieces that Europe have been putting on Russia, they've started to send all that gas towards China. China are quite happy to pay for it. Therefore, the European markets have jumped up quite a bit. Germany said yesterday, obviously, Nord Stream 2 is a pipeline from Russia into the top of Germany. And another part of this sanctions that have come across is the certification for that has now been completely suspended. We've now obviously woke up to the news that Russia have now invaded Ukraine. Prices currently now, they have jumped up a lot. So looking at these graphs just here, where we had a bit of a spike over Christmas, as you can see from these graphs, the market now has gone higher than that. These graphs are valid as of close of play yesterday. The in-day market at the moment is showing currently it's about £308 per megawatt hour for electricity. So that would be for a year contract starting in April. Now, prices have jumped up. It's very volatile, and obviously the market is trying to work out what's happening given everything that's going on with Russia. Most of our suppliers on the framework currently have just suspended pricing for the next couple of days. It's just why the market settles and everyone can see exactly what's going on. We are still able to support everyone. We can set up tenders. We can get that all sorted out. So the idea is that if we get everything ready for you, that once the markets open up early next week, we can start to see what the best course of action is for everyone and start getting prices from suppliers. But currently, given what's happening right now, and it's changing hour by hour at the moment, they've basically suspended pricing. All suppliers price sort of in-day markets, so the markets are all over the place. So they can't, they're not able to price at this current time. So markets are very, very high, but there are a lot of things that you can do to, or we can do to help you and manage the situation and manage the risk of the volatile markets. Dukefield Energy do produce a market update. We do weekly and we do daily market updates. We give you a lot of information on these, and what we like to do is all of our customers and anybody that wants to sign up to these, we're going to share a link at the end of this where you can sign up, and we're able to produce these on a daily and a weekly basis for you. It gives you lots of information about what's going on in the markets, when we think it's best to buy, and what's going on. And we do this on a daily basis. So our recommendations at the moment. If your contract is due for renewal now or soon, you need to take action to avoid the out of contract rates. Now, I've been speaking to lots of customers this morning. Some customers are saying, well, actually, maybe it's better if I just slip onto out of contract rates for a few months and kind of ride the storm. Now, it's what happens is out of contract rates tend to be 2 or 3 times more expensive than contracted rates. So it can be very, very expensive. And any saving you think you might do by doing this, very quickly within a month or 2 months, that saving will disappear because you're effectively paying 3 times more for your gas, for your power throughout that period you're on out of contract rates. Now, suppliers produce the out of contract rates on a monthly basis, depending on what's happening on the markets. And right now, the out of contract rates are set at a certain level. Now, those prices that we're seeing for out of contract rates are probably what we'll get in terms of contracted rates right now, if I was to try and get prices for anyone today. Now, suppliers will then catch on, and those out of contract rates will be refreshed for the beginning of March, and we'll see some very, very high out of contract rates indeed. So what you see on suppliers' websites for out of contract rates will be refreshed on a monthly basis, depending on what's going on in the market. So my advice is definitely don't let things get to the point where you have to go on out of contract rates very quickly. 1 month our contract rates, can any saving you'll get will be mitigated by that completely. So the most important thing is come and have a chat with us. We can talk through what we can do to help, how we can manage the risk for you. There's lots of different products out there that we can get from suppliers in terms of sleeving arrangements and other bits and pieces, what will help allowing you in a dropping market, once the prices do come down, to help you get the best possible contracts. As we said, yeah, remember there's options out there. Most important thing is don't get drawn into signing anything very long term. I'm seeing lots of TPIs and brokers out there at the moment that are saying sign a 5-year deal. It's a great idea at the moment. The longer term contract will look cheaper on paper, but prices are so high at the moment that you will obviously then be paying a very high rate for a long period of time, so sort of 5 years. A 5-year contract is currently cheaper than a 1-year contract, but my advice would be go short term, go a 12-month contract. Yes, you're paying more for 12 months, but then when the energy market comes back down again, and it will, then you're able to go back into the market and get a much better rate. Whereas if you would sign a very long-term contract, you're stuck on those rates for the next 5 years. And I do not believe the next 5 years is going to be as high as they are at the moment. So most important thing is don't get drawn in. For anybody trying to sell that actually it's a lot cheaper going long-term, it's not. That's the most important thing. It's coming up to April renewals. Lots of people have contracts coming up. It's just the way we tend to get April and October renewals. So timescales right now, we've still got plenty of time. We can help people. However, it's just to make you aware that what we do is we have a bit of a chat with you. We get all your details, and we can then get prices from all our suppliers on our framework between 5 and 7 working days. That's the initial one. Now, the most important thing is have a look at the prices. If you don't want to sign on that day, we can then refresh those prices within a 24-hour window. So yes, it takes about 5 days to get prices now, but then after that, 24 hours, nice and easy, and then we can look at getting the right people to sign the contract for you, so we can get all that done. With the April renewals just in the back of everyone's mind at the moment, when we start looking at termination notices with current suppliers and getting people to sign contracts, gas particularly can take around 3 weeks to nominate the gas suppliers and get them with a new supplier. So we've still got time, but my advice would be if you're looking at April contracts right now and you want us to help and see what we can do with our framework and all the suppliers on our framework, would be contact us as soon as possible. Let's have a chat. Let's see what's going on. Let's just use these period of a couple of days where we can't get prices just to get things set up for you. So when we come into next week, we can advise you on the best type of pricing and what we can do for you. Whether you use our framework or not, the most important thing is ensure your contract is a robust and financial stable supplier. Now, we've seen a lot in the market over the past 6 months. I believe it's about 19 suppliers that have now gone bust from the UK market. Most of those, I think around 17 of them, are all domestic suppliers. So it doesn't affect this commercial supplier side of things. We've only had one company called CNG that have exited the market on that side of things. Now, all our suppliers on our framework are very heavily sort of vetted. We do lots of credit checks. We make sure that they're a robust supplier and make sure they're not going anywhere at the moment. So they are very strong. They're not going anywhere, and they can weather these, volatile time that we're having in the current markets at the moment. So that's another thing. In terms of our framework, it's a big sort of rubber stamp there to say make sure you use the right type of suppliers and good stable suppliers, and that's whether you come with us or whether you do something by yourselves. Another thing is think about energy management and behavioural change. Prices can be very high at the moment. However, you can't change those prices. It doesn't matter where you go, the prices will be the same. However, you can start looking at things that you could do on site, sustainability, those type of things. Look at how much you're using. Are you able to turn the lights off a bit earlier? Are you able to do certain things on site to be able to drive down consumption? Could be things like LED lighting or solar panels, other bits and pieces as well. And we have a whole team here that can help you alongside all those bits and pieces as well. So some things that we offer, you won't be able to sort of change the price, but you can change the amount you're using at your organisations. Plan ahead. discuss your long-term plans and your short-term procurement plans with us. We can put lots of things in place to do with sustainability and everything. Obviously, net zero and carbon neutral bits and pieces are really in the press at the moment. And the most important thing is we have a chat with you and we can put a plan in place with all that. So yes, we can do that. Utility suppliers and service framework. We are fully transparent. There's no hidden costs or misleading terms and conditions. The only thing we ever get you to do is sign an LOA, and that just allows us to get prices for you. It doesn't allow us to sign anything on your behalf. It purely just allows us to get get information from suppliers. We offer full end-to-end tendering support. So we do everything for you. It's a very busy time at the moment. The most important thing is we take everything and we do it all for you. It's not just the tendering, but we are a fully managed service from start to finish. So we will look after you. We do bill validation. We do all your query management with suppliers. We look after you from start to finish. So it's a fully managed service. It's not just getting you to sign a contract and then that's it. We will look after you. Any issues, any query management, those side of things, we can sort that all out for you. Added value services are all included. Bill validation, we can sort that all out, and there's no hidden costs in there for those. So as I say, fully transparent on the framework. We offer a large amount of energy management services. So our team can deal with things like smart metering, display energy certificates, energy management analysis, site surveys, audits and reports. We could put all those together. Streamline energy and carbon reporting, net zero carbon projects. We can write some plans for you with these as well. Bid support, so like SALIX or the Low Carbon Skills Fund and Public Sector Decarbonisation Scheme. We can help fill those in for you. Again, we want to take things off your plate. We want to help you out. Energy and building design. Drafting and implementation of carbon reduction policy and behavioural change program. So again, our team can look at those. We can help and support on those side of things as well. So that's it. Any questions at all about the markets and other bits and pieces? I'm sure obviously high markets and what's going on in Russia, everything is all in the news at the moment. So the most important thing from my side is we're here to help and support. The team here can answer any questions and bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has at the moment.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. Yeah, we have some questions that are in the chat. Just encourage everyone, if you've got any questions, if you can just pop them in the chat now, that would be great, and we'll just work through those in order if that's okay. So the first one we have is from Amanda, is in regards to renewals. So what is soon in regards to renewals? So for the institution that Amanda is working at, they're out of contract in November 22. Is it too soon, or is that deemed? What are the time scales?
No, the most important thing is come and talk to us with plenty of time. It gives you a lot of, it gives us time to go through all the options and monitor the markets. So the most important thing is, as I said, there's no obligation. By us getting you prices, you don't have to sign those at all. What I say to a lot of customers is come to us. We can talk you through all the different options, and we can then effectively benchmark you, get you some prices and go, here is the worst case scenario. Right now, current markets, what's everything going on, and very high markets, here's the worst case scenario. And then what we do is we monitor the markets on a daily basis. And when we see is the right time to then go back into the market again, we can then give you a call. We can advise you and say, actually, next week, it really looks like, we're going to get you a much better price than that benchmarking that we did back in February, March time. And then we can obviously look to see how much we can save you over the next few months. It's crystal ball time. I'd love to know what's going to happen with Russia and everything. Normally what tends to happen is we have quite high markets during the winter, and then when we come into the summer months and the warmer weather, markets tend to drop down quite a bit. Now we'll have to see what happens. But my advice would be you've got plenty of time there, Amanda. Come and give us a call. Give us we can start talking about when's best to look for you, and we can just take that. It's certainly not too early. The earlier the better, basically. It gives everyone time, and there's no rush and anything else like that at all. And then if we do see a good time, that we can then obviously get you the best possible prices. So the earlier the better is my advice.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. Next question we've got come through on the chat is from Mike. Do your recommendations apply to the domestic market?
Good question. They're quite different. We're hearing a lot in the news at the moment about the price caps, other bits and pieces that are going on. I know at the moment I'm on a flexible variable tariff at the moment. I'm actually waiting personally to go quite up to sort of April, where the new price cap is going to come in. Then I'm going to take a look and see what's going to happen. Is it better to stay on the variable tariff, take a bit of a chance, or whether just to fix out? Now, the fixed price, looking at it, what I've done recently, it's looking very high. However, at least you do know budget certainty and everything there in the domestic market. You know what you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, and it's just down to your usage. Whereas if things escalate even further with Russia or anything, if you're on a variable tariff, obviously sky's the limit. You're not protected by certain things. So my advice is, I don't know when obviously your contract is up, Mike, but have a look. It's similar in the domestic market. But the price cap does help people because it will just protect you from out of control rates and bits and pieces there. So, yes.
Lovely. Thank you, Nick. Next one we've got is from Susan. How long do you need to set a customer up for tendering?
So we can do it pretty much within a day. Getting all the information. So our team are very good at collating everything. We try and make it as easy as possible for you. So most important thing is you would sign an LOA with us. That just gives us authorization. That's just on letterheaded paper. And again, we can share these documents with everybody after this. From that, our team will then put the tender together. Now, we can send you a spreadsheet where you just fill in things like the meters, the gas meters, the electricity meters, their reference numbers, annual usage, and things like the address. Once we've got that information, we can then tender it with the suppliers, and if from that it then takes sort of 5 to 7 working days. So once we have that, we can get all that information with you. We can set up a meeting. What I tend to do with all the team is they'll set up a bit of a Teams call, go through any questions, talk you through everything, get the information from you guys, and then obviously we can take it from there. The other thing we can do is if it's an LOA and you have a copy of each bill you have with each meter, we can extract that information from you as well, and then just put it into the spreadsheet ourselves if that's of use as well. So it doesn't take very long to set up the spreadsheet and everything. Then we send that off to all the suppliers on our framework, and they will then we can then talk about the day that you would like prices back. As I say, it's about 5 to 7 working days at the current market at the moment. So yeah.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. A couple more questions. So this one's from Derek. Can tendered costs be refreshed on a daily basis for several months?
Yes. We can refresh it on a daily basis. I would say that suppliers, well, we do refresh things maybe on a weekly basis. If we were doing it on a daily basis, it will give you an idea about the markets and everything else. But suppliers would probably start to ask questions because obviously no one's signing at any point in time. Now, the most important thing for us is we would just monitor the situation. We'll get the market updates every day. We'll see when's best to go. So I would say, potentially we could refresh on a weekly basis. On a daily basis, there wouldn't be a lot changing. You wouldn't see dramatic drops. You wouldn't see anything out there. However, we could refresh maybe every Friday, have a look and just see what the difference is on a weekly basis for you. But we look at the markets and we'll be able to tell you. We could have weekly catch-ups. And just let you know that actually prices won't have come down from the previous week or anything like that at all. So we'll have that information to our fingertips. We could sign you up to the market reports as well, so you could see that information at your fingertips as well. But in terms of answering your question, there is no reason why you couldn't refresh prices on a daily basis. It would just suppliers would start asking questions, I'd imagine, if we just did it every day. That's all. But you can.
Lovely, thank you. Next question is from Paul. We are a multi-academy trust with schools all on different contracts expiring at different times. Can we consolidate contracts dates easily? So kind of coterminous approach, yeah.
So one of the things we're here to do is make your lives a lot easier. The most important thing is we get all that information from you, all the end dates, start dates, other bits and pieces. All our suppliers will allow us to have a coterminous end date for you. So my advice is, we would look at the look at your portfolio and then go out to sort of between 12 and 18 months. If everything is ending within those 18 months, we could then pick a date and make sure everything ends at the same time. We consolidate everything together, and that just means that going forward, it becomes a lot easier for you. You don't have different contracts at different start dates or anything. But yes, we can ensure that all your supplies all end on the same date. And then if you do pick up any, I know it's an issue with some multi-academy trusts, if you pick up another school, we can add that to the contract. We can do that for you. So in terms of adding it to a contract, we can then make sure they still end at the same time, and you don't have different schools ending up on different times. So the most important thing is all our suppliers allow us to have coterminous end dates for you.
Lovely, thank you. Next one is from Rob. Do you have any experience of extracting a school from the energy part of a, as his in his words, mismanaged PFI contract?
We can. In terms of mismanagement, I deal with a lot. Suppliers will let contracts leave, particularly around bad service, other bits and pieces. Every case is very different, so we'd have to get a bit more information and other things. But you can, if it's not working out, we can have those conversations. We do have very good contacts with lots of different suppliers and organisations, so we're able to have that and see what is best. And our approach is what's best for the customer. That's the most important thing. It's not the supplier, it's not anybody else. It's just making sure that you get the best possible service. And we do a lot of checking things and other bits and pieces and build validations and other bits. So we will ensure that we'll do everything we can to make sure you get the best possible service and moving you onto a better contract so your needs are met basically and supported. So we can do all that for you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, next question comes from Jonathan. Do you offer flexible contracts as well as fixed?
Yes, is the short answer. What I would also say is that most flexible contracts only come into their own when you're quite a large organisation. So we'd have to have a bit of a look at your portfolio, see the usages and other bits and pieces, and we can take it from there. So yes, we can do flexible contracts. It just depends on the size and whether it would be worthwhile for you. So yeah, we can do all that. Not a problem at all.
Lovely, thank you. This one's from Elizabeth. How do you earn your commission? Are prices given including your percentage?
Yes. So we get paid by the supplier. It depends on the volume that's put through each supplier and the amount of customers that we've got and everything there. So we can do all that. There is no hidden charges or anything. There's no management fees that after we've done a tender, we then have any issues, or we suddenly then charge you £500 for every time that we do any energy management there for you. So it's all included. It's all in the price, and we get paid by the supplier.
Lovely, thank you. Next question here is from T. Lewis. Sorry, it's not picked up your first name. Apologies. Can you say a bit more on behavioural change, please?
Yes. So I'm just going to touch on. We do a lot. We give all the information at your fingertips. So we have our own customer portal that we're starting to roll out to certain organisations, and that will give you all the information at your fingertips. So it's terms of usages at different sites. If you've got different buildings and other bits and pieces, you can almost have in-house competitions between different buildings about trying to save or reduce consumption or anything else like that. So we can give as much or as little information. So you could log onto the portal, you can see what's going on there. So we've got a whole team that can deal with energy management. So behavioural change policies, it's some of the other things we could do is we can come to schools and academies. We could give some talks to some of the pupils and staff and everything. And it's about giving you some handy tips about energy, how to reduce consumption, other bits and pieces. So it's almost like, turning the lights off. It's to do with computer screens, all those sorts of things about turning things off at the end of the evening and other bits. And also what we can do is we can have a look at your information and see when you're using the most amount. Is it at the same time every day? Is certain things happening overnight? It's lots of different information that we could take and then advise you on ways of then reducing your consumption. It's quite interesting when you start to look at the portfolio and start to look at when you do use a lot. Some people are very surprised when you suddenly see you use a lot of gas and power between 7 and 11 at night, maybe, and things like that, when actually the school's turned off. Yeah, it's about looking at your portfolio, looking at what's going on, and then we can take it from there.
Lovely, thank you. This question is from Fatima. We have gas hedged at 63% for 22 and 23 and 9% for 23 and 24. Electricity is at 83% for 22 and 23 and 30% for 23 and 24. If we are to consider going out for tender, will we be looking at asking for prices for 23 and 24 or the years 24 and 25?
Right, lots of information there.
Yes.
My advice was come and have a chat with us. A lot of suppliers now, we've seen recently with the volatile markets, of suppliers weren't allowing us to go further than 6 months out. Now we're talking about 23 and 24. They're opening all that up now, so we can do that. So we can see how much you've already procured. We can see about sleeving arrangements, moving it from supplier to supplier. These are all options open to you. We can certainly, I'm doing a big project with Essex University at the moment about their budgets for 23, 24 and 25. And seeing what we can do with their energy there and what prices are going to look like. Now, it's very much sort of finger in the air at the moment in terms of what's happening, particularly with Russia and everything. But we can give you some sort of budget certainty, and we can start looking at volumes and looking at purchasing certain volumes at certain times at the best possible time to go further out. So my advice would be give us a contact, come get in contact, and we can have a chat and start to look at the best possible plan for you to get you the best possible prices going over and budget certainty over the next sort of 3 or 4 years.
Lovely, thank you. Next question is from David. How many of your electricity suppliers are from renewables? We are currently with a renewable provider, and to revert to non-renewables would reverse our carbon reduction plan.
Oh, sorry, Mel, I missed part of that.
That's all right. Did it cut out? Apologies, I'll read it out again. How many of your electricity suppliers are from renewables? David's organisation is currently with a renewable provider, and they don't want to go backwards because they have a carbon reduction plan in place, understandably.
Okay, yes. We ensure that the majority of our suppliers offer fully renewable gas and power across our framework. It's a very big it's right in the current markets at the moment. So the most important thing is everyone offers fully renewable. We can do that. If you don't want to go fully renewable, we can go what we call brown gas and electricity, but we offer it across the board. So all suppliers is part of the framework and part of some of the questions and the tendering of the suppliers onto the framework that we do.
Lovely, thank you. Next question is from Susan. Can you say any more about risk mitigation strategies? Yes.
So there's lots of different options open to people. So we've been talking to all our suppliers. It depends on the type of organisation that we've got at the moment. So depending on your organisation, how much you use, we can look at whether it is fixable contracts that's much is more of a benefit for you, or whether it's flexible. We also have a number of flexible options, whereas we can allow a top level. So what we'll do is, it will be a fixable contract, but we can set an upper limit. So if prices spike or anything else like that, we can then buy out the rest of the volume of your gas and power to allow you to know that there'll always be a maximum level, a maximum price that you'll pay. Other options are things like sleeving arrangements. So what we can do is a number of suppliers we've been speaking to now are doing like a fixed first year. And as you see prices come down in the second and third year, potentially in a dropping market, then we can go in and buy the second year and the third year. So rather than have a monthly flex, it's more like a yearly baseline flexible option. So you know what you're paying for a year for year one. Then we look at year two, then we look at year three for you, but it would be like a 3-year contract. There's other options available as well, but the most important thing is to kind of build things around the organisation. Everyone's quite different. It depends on usage. It depends on lots of other bits and pieces as well. But we've got all products. I think there's about 38 different products across all our suppliers, so that we can build something around you that meets your needs, and we can sort that out. So yes. We're still there.
My connection's not great, and it's just stopping me from unmuting. Apologies. Thank you for that. So next one, let me just scroll down. Bear with me. Sorry. There we go. Okay, Elizabeth has left the question in regards to particular multi-academy trusts. So would the prices be the current prices if MAT schools joined after the initial school joined? So all schools could be on different rates depending on when their contract finished. So again, this is around the rates across the multi-academy trust and all of their associated academies and schools. How does that work if they, I think, join at different points?
Yeah. So all our suppliers will price every meter on the individual basis. So what you'll end up with is across a portfolio, we'll end up with the individual rate per meter. And that's because every meter is very different in terms of transportation charges, in terms of lots of other added elements into and the non-commodity charges in there that make up everything in the bill. So you will get, on a normal contract, you will get a different rate per meter. Now, we do have our suppliers that will average that out for you, and if for whatever reason it's a lot easier just to have one rate across the board, they can do that. Now, what I would suggest is it's not always the best possible, it's not the best idea sometimes, and the reason behind that is purely because you might get a smaller school paying a lot more on a higher rate because it's taking in effect what someone else is on the portfolio. So every school is very different depending on their charges and where they are in the country and other bits and pieces. It will be a lot cheaper to do it on an individual basis. It will come as one contract, but it is value for money. It's better to do it that way rather than what a supplier will do is give you one rate for gas and one rate for power, but just average everything out and probably put a bit of a premium in there just to make sure that everything is in there and they're happy and it covers all their costs and everything. And what you'll find is actually one school might do quite well out of it, but another school will lose out quite dramatically because they're either using a lot more or a lot less. So my advice would be price. We would price each individual meter on their individual the meter makeup and everything and the usage, and then that way you get the best possible price. However, some customers will always want you might want, there might be a very good reason why you want one rate across the board, and that's fine. We can facilitate that, so our suppliers will allow us to do that.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. Next question, also from Elizabeth. Do you have an online portal for all the contract details and billing?
We do have an online portal. Not for the contract details. It's more to do with usages, reports, downloading the bills, other bits and pieces, and just seeing what's going on. We want to give you as much information to your fingertips. You won't have things like your contracts in there or anything. However, what we do is in the tendering process, we will get the contracts from the supplier for you. We then send them to you. You have full visibility of that. You see it all, but it's not on the portal. So contracts, no, but usages, reporting, that side of things. You could compare yearly usage. You compare this day today. You could then compare on our portal with, say, what you used on this day last year, or you could compare your different buildings and other bits and different meters. So we can customize. It's fully customizable as well, and we can customize it around you to show you exactly what you want. So we can do that as well. But unfortunately, we can't put the contracts on there.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. Just got this message from Jay Kendall. Again, apologies, it doesn't share your first name on the screen here. I note that Dukefield Energy is a dedicated energy provider for the CPC. How do we know that this provides value for money for schools in relation to commissions, etc.?
So, two reasons. We, as part of the process of becoming CPC's dedicated energy provider, we declare all the commissions and everything. And as part of that process, we were selected as value for money, best customer service, and everything there. So that's been one check. But also now the framework has been accredited by the DFE, and is one on their website that they recommend. They've done the same process as well. So not just CPC, but the DFE have done it as well, where again, it's declaring of all commission and everything there. And it shows that they've selected us for value for money, for customer service, for everything there. So you've not just had CPC sort of cross-check everything and select us, you've also had the DFE accredit the framework as it's the right thing to do for organisations based upon value for money, customer service, and everything else that we offer there as well. So there's been two organisations there that have cross-checked everything and ensure that is the best possible service that you can get.
Lovely, thank you, Nick. I think it's important to mention there as well that behind Dukefield, obviously, you have your own a compliant framework as well, whereby you're able to obviously run competition. With some brokers, that's definitely a question to ask and isn't always the case. Yeah, definitely just looking at the full supply chain behind that and the procurement processes that have occurred there.
That's it's another good point, that our framework is multi-supplier. So what we would not do is have a framework where just we've already allocated the framework to a single supplier.
Yes.
I always feel that having a multi-supplier is better. It gives customers choice, and it allows sort of in-house competition between our suppliers to ensure that they give the best possible prices and the best possible value. I just feel if you had a framework that just has a single supplier on it, what happens 6 months in the line with that supplier if they decide they want to change their pricing structure or anything else like that at all? It allows them to do it, where ours, they're in competition with each other. We tender your business to our suppliers, and they're all in competition with each other. We then do all the analysis and show you who's the cheapest and who's the most expensive, and then it's completely down to you with some advice from us about who you want to select. So yeah, having a multi-supplier framework, again, is you can get 6 or 7 gas prices, 6 or 7 power prices, and then it's completely up to you who you then choose from there. So again, gives you value for money, and you can compare who's cheapest, who's the best, and it's not always down to price. It could be customer service and other things that suppliers offer as well, and we go through all that. So yeah,
lovely, thank you, Nick. So we just have a question here from Colin. Is the framework for utilities only? Your website mentions additional services.
It is. So we've got a number of lots. We've got gas, power, and water. Alongside that, we have all the other managed services that we offer. So in terms of sustainability and other bits and pieces. So it is mainly for gas, power, water, but as an additional service, Dukefield Energy can offer the energy management side of things as well.
Lovely, thank you. That's the last question that's in the chat. I'll just give a moment if everybody else has got any other questions that they wish to pop into the chat. Or we might be at a natural end of the questions there. But yes, just generally say thank you for attending. I hope you found today useful. As Nick mentioned, on the CPC website under our blog section, we run a weekly energy update there. So it's a written blog which comes from Dukefield in partnership with the CPC. So it gives you up to date. So do subscribe to the newsletter for the CPC to get our updates on a monthly basis, or jump onto the CPC website, logging, and you'll be able to see the full blog section there, which includes the weekly energy update. So we'll keep you updated over the coming months. We will look to do another webinar, I think, as well, if this has been useful and well received. So of course, any feedback that you can provide, really welcome that, so we can tailor this going forward. Yeah, and the chat's has gone quiet. So I think based on that, just to say thank you so much. Thank you, Nick, for your time.
Thank you very much, everybody. I would just say, yeah, if anybody needs anything, please get in contact and we'll come back to you straight away. So yes. any issues, let us know.
Yeah, perfect. Lovely. Okay, great. Thank you all. Thanks for the messages of thanks.